Okay, let's freaking do this! You, but whenever I go down the dairy aisle, I can get so overwhelmed. I mean, when the heck did there become so many different ways to make milk? In today's video, we're going to take a deep dive into 9 different types of milks, both dairy and plant-based milks. So we'll chat about kind of what the pros and some of the cons of each of them are. So here's a rundown of the types of milk that we're gonna go through. Cow's Life, Fairlife milk, which is a type of cow's milk, soy, almond, cashew, oat, coconut, pea, and rice milk. So we'll go through them all, and then I'm gonna do a blind taste test of them all and see A, what I think of the taste, and B, can I identify which one is which? At the end of the video, I'll give a final winners award, if you will, to the milks in the following categories: the overall nutritional profile, environmental impact, and the most budget friendly. So I'm super excited about this video because I know there is so much misinformation out there on this topic. So if you're excited about this video too, be sure to give it a thumbs up and let's dive on in. So let's start with cow's milk. Cow's milk is a staple food for so many households, and it's kind of considered the most typical of milks. Now, cow's milk comes in a couple different varieties, such as 0% fat, low fat, which is usually about 1 to 2%, whole milk, which is 3 to 4% fat. Cow's milk is considered some of the most complete of all of the milks, providing a mix of all macronutrients, so carbs, fat, and protein. Now, this variety of nutrients really allows for milk to help sustain our bodies for usually longer periods of time. One of my favorite ways to use whole milk is in a smoothie. So I have a super filling banana protein shake that I make pretty much all the time. I'll put the recipe in the description for you. Additionally, animal protein sources, which includes cow's milk, are considered what's called a complete protein. Now, these types of protein are highly bioavailable, meaning that our bodies can readily use them. They contain all of the essential amino acids that our bodies need. Now, like I said, you can find cow's milk in a variety of fat contents ranging from 0 to 3 to 4%, and fat can be very flavorful, so the taste of those milks, the different fat contents, can vary. And that difference can be striking to some, which causes some people to highly prefer one type of milk over another. And while you might think that the lower fat content means healthier, I would highly challenge that. Fat is not a bad macronutrient. Our bodies need it, and they need it for a variety of reasons, such as actually being able to absorb some nutrients that we take in, some things like fat-soluble vitamins, and that fat also contributes, like I said, to the taste, as well as helping you to feel full and satisfied for longer. Now, cow's milk does contain some saturated fat and some cholesterol. This is a type of fat that has previously been associated and linked with negative health status. Now, a lot of research has been done on this over the past few years. We're starting to learn that fats, like dairy fats that may contain some saturated fat and cholesterol, may not be as bad for our health as we once thought. One study actually showed an inverse relationship between dairy intake and cardiovascular health. Now, this may be also due to the fact that milk and dairy products have been associated with an increase in HDL cholesterol, which is the good cholesterol, and a blood pressure reduction. Essentially, the pros versus cons have been kind of seen as some of a wash, some of those previously kind of things that people didn't think were so healthy about milk. Now, when it comes to environmental impact, cow's milk tends to have a kind of bad reputation here. One source claims that the dairy industry has the largest greenhouse gas emissions, the largest water use, and the largest land use compared to other plant-based milks. Now, for this, I will say that it does highly depend on the farm and that farm's unique practices. So be sure to kind of take that into consideration when you are kind of thinking about that environmental impact that the cow's milk might have. So think about that for the brand that you're choosing. Another thing to note is that some people may not be able to digest lactose, which is a type of sugar found in cow's milk. It's actually estimated that up to 75% of people will lose the ability to digest lactose as they age. That's a pretty big number. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have a single bit of lactose. lactose. The tolerance really can vary highly from person to person. It's very individualized. So I would be careful with that information though, and be sure to not trick yourself into thinking that you're lactose intolerant, because it could happen to up to 75% of people. Many people, my past self included, have used that lactose intolerance as a sneaky little food rule, as a way to cut out foods that have previously been deemed bad by diet culture, like ice cream or higher calorie milks, in hopes to cut calories and lose weight. It's really, really important to be honest with yourself and with your body. Lastly, cow's milk does tend to have a shorter shelf life than some of the other plant-based milks. Now, organic cow's milk may last longer because it does undergo a different processing that's used to preserve it. Also, organic cow's milk typically does have a shorter travel time when you're talking about going from the farm to the store. So, I mean, that could also contribute to that longer shelf life that organic milk sometimes does see. It also is going to reduce those environmental impacts. Another thing to know about cow's milk is that it is very budget friendly, coming in at about 11 cents per cup. So Fairlife is a type of cow's milk that undergoes a filtration process that removes most of the lactose and converts the remaining lactose into lactase enzyme, which makes them lactose free. Did you follow me? This also results in a higher protein content than the 8 grams that typical cow's milk has. So Fairlife brings it to about 13 grams. Yep, this one has 13. It's also ultra pasteurized, which does allow for a longer shelf life than that typical cow's milk that we just talked about. Now, Fairlife has been kind of under fire for their treatment of animals, which is said to be less than humane. The company does seem to be making this right. However, it is something to take into consideration when choosing milks to purchase, just like the environmental impact could be of utmost importance to you. Now, the cost of Fairlife is more expensive. It's about 48 cents per serving. All right, guys, now let's get on to soy milk. Soy milk is considered kind of the runner-up in regards to nutritional profile to cow's milk. It has comparable protein content, and it does also contribute some of those fat and carbs. Now, many soy milks are fortified with things like calcium and vitamin D that do bring them even closer to that nutritional profile of cow's milk. Soy milk is lower, an example, for things like leucine, which is an amino acid, than cow's milk is. This is one of the essential, highly bioavailable amino acids found in cow's milk. However, I honestly wouldn't let that stop you from choosing soy milk. If you are consuming a wide variety of foods each day, you'll likely get some of that amino acid from some other areas of your diet, really creating that complete protein. Soy milk also has a slew of health-promoting benefits such as anti-cancer properties due to the isoflavones, increased bone health and calcium absorption. It provides a good source of essential MUFAs and PUFAs, monounsaturated fatty acids and polyunsaturated fatty acids, which are considered good for cardiovascular health. Now, in terms of the environment, soy milk is super fabulous. It has some of the lowest emissions and water usage, which does make it highly sustainable. There is, however, some concern for deforestation. One common misconception is that soy is harmful, particularly due to the fact that it contains a plant estrogen called phytoestrogen. Now, phytoestrogen can have both estrogen and anti-estrogen effects. A couple areas of concern are increased for possible breast cancer and feminization in men. Now, the studies have shown that there is no link to soy increasing breast cancer risk. Some studies have actually found it to be protective. As for the feminization in men, most studies have been done, firstly to consider they've been done on rats and not humans, and reported human hormone changes, those that did have reported changes, were from those who were consuming very large amounts of soy, like 3 quarts per day. One interesting thing to note about soy is that women in menopause actually produce lower levels of estrogen, and one study actually showed a link between phytoestrogens and having less hot flashes in menopausal women. So kind of overall in that regards to those phytoestrogens, research obviously is ever evolving. However, honestly, consuming typical amounts, i.e. not those 3 quarts of soy milk a day, is typically going to be fine. I wouldn't stress or worry about it. The last little tidbit of info on soy is that you may or may not like the taste. It does have a slightly kind of like soybean taste, so try it for yourself and see. The average cost of soy milk is about 39 cents per 1 cup. All right, guys, let's talk almond milk. So since 2019, almond milk has been the most popular non-dairy milk alternative. This makes this type of milk very readily available to purchase in most grocery stores. Now, nutritionally, almond milk is quite different from cow's milk. It provides very low amounts of calories, fat, carbs, and protein. For example, the unsweetened kind typically has about 35 calories, and this one is sweetened and it has 60 calories per cup. So while diet culture has told us that lower calorie is good, that's just not true, you guys. Calories are energy for our bodies. We need them. They don't need to be demonized. And the protein content is typically about 0 to 1 grams. This one that I have has 1 versus the 8 that cow's milk provides. Now, protein is a key nutrient and really helps you to feel satisfied and stay full longer. I actually think almond milk is more comparable to water in terms of nutrition than milk. I'm not anti-almond milk by any means or think that anyone is automatically dieting or trying to cut calories by drinking it. However, a lot of people do use it as a way to kind of cut calories, and for that reason. I could see almond milk being a great option if you are, say, making a smoothie and you are loading it up with nut butter, fruit, and maybe some Greek yogurt for some of that protein in there, where you'd already be getting a lot of those nutrients, that protein, fat, and that carbs that your body wants and your body needs, but using almond milk without kind of those other sources of those protein, fat, carbs will likely not sustain you for very long, i.e. you're gonna be hungry soon after. And that's really due to kind of that wateriness of almond milk. That also typically means it's a lot lower in other nutrients than milk, like B vitamins and essential fatty acids. Many almond milks are, however, fortified with things like calcium and vitamin D. And this does bring them a little closer to the nutrients naturally found in other milks, like cow's milk. Another piece of info about almond milk to bring to light is the environmental impact. Almonds take a lot of water to produce, which can have a negative environmental impact. The cost of almond milk is about 39 cents per 1 cup. All right, guys, let's talk cashew. Cashew is probably one of my favorite types of nuts to eat. So delish. But cashew milk is kind of comparable to the pros and cons of almond milk that we just talked about. It is pretty watery and provides low nutrient density in terms of those calories, fat, and protein. It does, however, provide almost a little bit of a creamier taste, which, I mean, to me kind of makes sense when you think about it. Almonds, I feel like when you eat them, they have a little bit more of a nutty taste, where cashews almost have a more buttery and creamy. You know, the price for cashew milk is about 39 cents per cup. Now let's talk oat. Oat milk is newer to the market lately, and honestly, I feel like everyone is loving it. It is actually super eco-friendly and actually uses the least amount of water to produce. One study, which was done by Oatly, a popular milk brand, take that into consideration, says that oat milk has 80% lower greenhouse gas emission production and uses 60% less energy and requires 80% less land use than cow's milk production. It doesn't have quite the same protein content as cow or soy that we talked about, but it does provide more than other plant-based milks, coming in at, this one has 3 grams per serving. So it's about a little less than half of cow's milk. What it does provide is some fiber. So fiber is fabulous for helping you stay full. I do have an entire video on fiber. I can link to it up there. You can also make oat milk at home. It's pretty easy. I can link to a recipe in the description, but you might miss out on some of the nutrients that may be fortified in it. Now, the cost for oat milk is a little more expensive. It's about 49 cents a cup. All right. Coconut time. So for this video, I'm talking about the carton of coconut milk, not the canned stuff that you see. The canned stuff typically is much more dense because there's less water added. However, the majority of those who drink it or use it as a milk don't use the canned version, they're gonna use the carton version like I have here. So this is what we're gonna discuss. Coconut milk overall is, again, pretty comparable to almond and cashew that we talked about. It does have the added nutritional benefits of being higher in fat sometimes, particularly lauric acid, and this has been actually shown to increase HDL cholesterol, which is the good cholesterol, and decrease the LDL, which is the bad cholesterol. The lauric acid may also boost immunity. Coconut milk, it typically doesn't contain protein, which may contribute to the feeling of feeling hungry super soon after eating it because it's not, again, super nutrient dense. The cost is 49 cents per cup. Pea milk, besides being in a really cool bottle, is a newer milk to the market as well. And one reason it has gained popularity is because of the protein content. So pea milk actually provides kind of roughly protein around the same amounts as cow or soy, which kind of makes it one of the most desirable plant options protein-wise. This one has 8 grams per cup, same as cows. It also can provide higher calcium levels as compared to almond or cashew. Pea milk is also considered an eco-friendly option as it produces 1/2 of the greenhouse gas emissions as cow milk does. It uses less nitrogen fertilizers as legumes naturally bind nitrogen in the soil. One of the downsides is that it can actually be a little bit tougher to find than stores since it is kind of newer to the market. As a result, it is a little bit of a higher price tag, so it's roughly 71 cents a cup. And now rice. So rice milk has been around for a long time. It tends to have almost like a naturally sweeter taste, which some may like. It's a great option for those who actually may have a soy or almond allergy. It is one of the most hypoallergenic milks out there. It doesn't, again, one of the downsides, provide much fat or protein. This makes the milk likely keep you full for not quite as long. It does provide carbs, so it makes it a little less watery and a little more nutrient dense than some of the other milks that we talked about, like almond. The cost is roughly 44 cents a serving. Okay, so now before we get to the winners of those milks in the different categories, the overall, the best eco-friendly, and the most budget-friendly, let's do a little bit of a taste test because taste does matter. Satisfaction is key. So if I hate the taste of one that is, say, one of the best outcomes, I'm not gonna force myself to drink it. So what I did for this blind taste test is I wrote down the different types of milk on the bottom of a cup. I'm going to fill them accordingly and then bring them back down here, taste them. I'll see which ones I like best and I'll see if I can't identify which ones are which. So I'm gonna go do that. We'll go down the line. I'm gonna mix them up just a little bit more. Again, can't see them. Okay, I'm excited for this, you guys. That one's really sweet. I can smell that one. I think that's the coconut. I don't like it. It's not bad. Okay, I think these ones are my top 2. This one's really good. It's sweeter than this one, but they're both creamy. I would say, I don't know what these are. Okay, this is cow's milk. Oat! Huh, okay. These ones are both the creamiest, but this one's a little sweeter. I like them both. The other ones that I liked were, this one wasn't bad. I like this one too. This one's okay. This one's my third. Soy, okay. Okay, so I almost might like oat's really good. It's sweet. So I don't know, if I was having a lot more of it, I might choose soy or cow. But those are my top 3 taste-wise. I will say, I think, which one was it? I could totally smell the coconut right away. This one. Yep, right away I knew it was coconut. I did not like this one. Ooh, pea milk. I didn't love it. I will say though, pea milk and cashew were the only ones that I could not find sweetened. So everything else was sweetened. I literally went to, like, I kid you not, like 7 stores. So I'll take that into consideration. It is very creamy, so maybe I would like the sweetened one. Other than that, I don't think anyone really stood out to me. This one's pretty sweet, almond milk. This one's a little less sweet. It's the cashew, so that's one of the unsweetened ones. This one's really sweet, like too sweet for me. Rice, okay? So then this has gotta be Fairlife. Yep. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm happy with my 3 top choices. Again, they are all original flavored minus the ripple and the cashew, which I did notice they were less sweet, so maybe those ones would be different if they were sweetened. But I'm happy with my top 3. I'm kind of shocked oat was one of them. Guys, there's a reason why oat milk is trendy. It's delicious. I love it. All right, guys, as always, this video is intended for just informational purposes only. It is not meant to be individualized medical or nutrition advice for you. If you do have any questions about the things that we cover in this video, be sure to reach out to your medical provider immediately. And just a side note, all of the different milks that we'll be going over, it's going to vary between different brands. So these are more just generalizations to kind of little nuggets of wisdom to take with you. All right, guys, the best in overall category is soy milk. So soy milk has a robust nutritional profile while also being a little more eco-friendly typically than cow's milk. It also has a similar consistency to cow's milk, and some people, like myself, can't really taste much of a soybean taste to it, while others may be able to. Now, satisfaction is hugely important. So if you do not like the taste, then don't pick that one, no matter how nutritionally complete it is. In other words, if you don't like soy milk, don't choke it down. It might not be the best one for you. All right, our eco-friendly winner goes to oat milk. Now, the winner does seem to be oat milk, like I said, but it is kind of a close call between this and soy. This is specifically looking at water requirements, land usage, and emissions produced. Now, there are so many other aspects to consider in terms of what makes a milk eco-friendly, things like travel, so just kind of keep that in mind. Another thing to think about with this is kind of the cost associated with adding in protein and fat to milk. For instance, oat milk is lower in protein, so you'd likely need to add something to it to feel full longer, so that would kind of increase not the price of the milk, but the price of whatever you're making. Does that make sense? Like a smoothie. And the best budget option goes to cow's milk. This is by far the most affordable option, coming in at 11 cents a cup. Of the plant-based milks, it's kind of a tie between soy, almond, and cashew. They all come in at around 39 cents a cup. Now, obviously, price is something that can vary highly depending on what grocery store you go to, what's on sale that week, etc. Also, something to note is that this is just speaking about the money that comes out of your pocket right now. It's not taking into consideration kind of the long-term economical impacts from things like the milk's environmental impact or packaging or anything like that. One quick note on sweetened milk is that when it comes to picking a sweetened versus an unsweetened milk, my answer is it depends. It depends on your personal taste preferences, it depends on how you're using it, and also how much you're using of it, and honestly, how often you're using it. I typically, when I use milks, I put it in something like smoothies or oatmeal where I'm getting sweetness from other things like fruit. This is using a little what I call gentle nutrition to say my body may not feel the best if everything that I'm eating has some added sugar in it. However, it's fine to have sweetened. Most of the ones we tried today are sweetened because that was what I could find readily. No big deal. The few grams of added sugar is usually nothing to stress over, and actually stressing over it probably is going to do more harm to your health than good by causing things like food fear, stress, anxiety, and raising our cortisol levels. No bueno. You should also take your own taste preferences into account when deciding if you're gonna go with sweetened or unsweetened. Again, don't force yourself to chug some unsweetened milk if you think it tastes like earth. That's not satisfying. And satisfaction, you guys have heard me say it again and again, is a huge, huge piece of the intuitive eating puzzle. So use gentle nutrition in places where you may not notice a difference or where there's sweetness elsewhere. But when you do, like if you're drinking it from a glass, then don't. Get rid of that all or nothing thinking. You can be flexible with that. One other final thought on this plant-based milk review is that I don't think there's a right or wrong choice. Your choice in milk is something, honestly, that is so unique to you, and it's something that can change over time. Maybe you go on a kick where you are really enjoying soy milk, and then you try some whole milk followed by oat milk. Personally, that is what we do in my house. We kind of just switch it up depending on what we feel like trying. Each milk does kind of have their own pros and cons, and it's important to consider the way that you're consuming it as well. Kind of like we talked about with those smoothies. So if you're using it for a sole source of nutrition, then maybe you want to go with something like cow or soy. But if you're using it as more of just a liquid in a smoothie, then you're adding tons of other nutrient parts to it, then maybe a almond or a cashew would be just fine. I hope you guys liked this video and it gave you a little bit more clarity when walking down the dairy aisle next time you go to the grocery store. If you did like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe down there. Also, be sure to let me know in the comments if there's any other videos you want me to review like this. We can even do a taste test with them. And with that, guys, I will see you guys next week, same time, same place with another video. See you later.